Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy New Year! Happy New Year! New Year, new beginning! Here we are. It's now 2022. Hey, from my family to yours, Happy New Year. Hopefully you guys made it. I told you guys last we were on the air, I want to see and hear from you guys in 2022, and that I would see you guys in 2022. Kicking it off in a huge way here as we're talking about WWE Day 1 pay-per-view fallout for January 1st of 2022. I definitely want to know what you guys thought about tonight's pay-per-view. So sound off. I mean, look, I got to be honest with you guys. To get a WWE pay-per-view of this magnitude on a Saturday night, as typically it's reserved for NXT, it's usually reserved for Impact Wrestling or AEW or NWA. It's refreshing, quite honestly, even though we're just a couple of weeks away from WWE Royal Rumble, the pay-per-view. That's about a little over 3 weeks away, if you really stop and think about it. And they already got the ball rolling with tonight's first announcement as far as the Royal Rumble match itself. We'll get into that in just a hot little bit. You looked at this pay-per-view as you were going into it, and you honestly said to yourself, look, the matches should be pretty good when it's all said and done. But as far as the predictability factor, yeah, it's really looking as though a lot of these matches, you can pretty much say, okay, yeah, nah, retain here, retain there, retain here. Oh, that's an automatic win there. It seemed as though it was going to be a very predictable card. So how would things balance itself out as far as that predictability factor? And honestly, we would find out in a very huge way, because just before we went into tonight's pay-per-view, for those of you that maybe are in the dark right now, you're checking this out maybe at work, or you're kind of laying low from the social media, but you knew I was going to be doing the day one coverage. Well, we got some news right before the pre-show had began. And that news came straight from Roman Reigns on social media, as he revealed, due to COVID protocols, he was not going to be able to defend his Universal Championship. He put this post out within the 6 o'clock hour on the East Coast here in the U.S. And he said, and I quote, "I yearn to perform tonight at WWE Day 1 to defend my Universal Championship. However, unfortunately, earlier today," keep in mind, this is what he said, "earlier today, I tested positive for COVID-19. Due to the proper protocols, I am unable to compete as originally scheduled. I look forward to returning to action as soon as possible." Now, I want to make sure that we're really stressing this now, because I see there's a little bit of discrepancy that's going on, and I definitely want to dive into that, but not be too long-winded about it. But it does tie into WWE Day 1 fallout. Again, he said that he was tested earlier today, and that he tested positive for COVID-19. Now, if you're thinking about it and you're a big fan of SmackDown, you're going, well, wait a minute, Lee. Wait a minute now. I watched SmackDown, and one of the last times I remember seeing Roman Reigns in action, it's actually been a couple of weeks here. What exactly is going on? Sure that maybe he didn't have COVID before, and maybe WWE was just trying to keep things under wraps for the guy and try to see if maybe, what's up, dog? So yeah, let's really rewind this back properly for you guys. And those of you that's just now trickling in, welcome to you guys. Welcome. I definitely want to hear from you guys on what you thought about tonight's pay-per-view. So sound off, give me those comments. You can definitely hit up the social media feeds. I got a poll right now that's on our youtube.com/the RCWR show page. Click over on the communities tab, and you guys will be able to sound off over there and let me know what you guys thought about the pay-per-view. We also got the same polling options available on Twitter at the RCWR show as well. So I hear what you guys are saying, and there was that period where Roman Reigns did not appear in action on SmackDown. Remember, one of the most recent times we saw Roman Reigns on SmackDown TV, it actually was not a match. He pretty much did a talking segment with Wiseman Paul Heyman to get right down to the nitty gritty on just what exactly is going on with Heyman. Is he an advocate for Brock Lesnar, or is he down with the Usos? Is he down with the bloodline? And we kind of really didn't get a definitive where exactly Paul Heyman's allegiance was there, or maybe we did. Maybe we got to just pump the brakes and think about that a little bit more. But regardless, that was one of the last times that we saw Roman Reigns on TV. But if you want to really home in on one of the last times he was involved in any type of in-ring action, just in general, whether you want to include TV or not, one of the last times he did something was on December 18th. He was at a WWE Live Super Show event. It was a tag team joint. He teamed up with the Usos, and they faced the team of Drew McIntyre, King Woods, Rey Mysterio. That was one of the last times. Remember, as we pretty much went into the week of Christmas, Roman Reigns was supposed to be involved with the Usos again on another tag match, but that got changed. We talked about it on, I believe it was last week's batch of shows, so you can definitely go back and check it out. Look, for all we know, when it's all said and done, so when you do the timeline, basically, Roman has not wrestled a match in about 14 days, give or take. For all we know, WWE might have just as a precaution, because after all, he is, still in remission from leukemia. And so his immune system is forever compromised when you stop and think about it, right? So, and to Roman Reigns' credit, from the little bit that we've heard of him in interviews and what he's done and everything publicly, he's done himself a solid in trying to make sure that he's protecting himself. He's trying to protect the fans. Most importantly, he's trying to protect his loved ones and everything. So I honestly would not be surprised if WWE had did what they did from December 18th on until today, when he got the original diagnosis, if they were just, as a precaution, just, okay, look, it's all good. You want to do less appearances and make sure you're able to go into the pay-per-view. Okay, yeah, no problem. For all we know, and this is pure speculation, for all we know, maybe he started coming down with some cold-like symptoms. He wanted to take it easy. And next thing you know, when it came to the day of to perform, get the test, see what's going on. Nah, homie, no mas. And this is how we are where we are right now. So the important thing is Roman's going to be all right. Obviously, he's got to go into quarantine mode. And with the new CDC guidelines that's been put out there, as far as quarantine, remember, it used to be 14 days. Remember that. It used to be 14 days. Now they've cut it down to 10 days. So I won't bore you guys with all those logistics, but it's definitely, if you don't know any of that and you're hearing that for the very first time, you definitely need to do some research. And yeah, they recently changed the guidelines on that. So we'll definitely be seeing Roman Reigns, obviously not this week on WWE programming, but we'll definitely see him the very next week. So as a result of what went down there with Roman Reigns not being able to compete, we got, obviously, Brock Lesnar. So what's the deal with Lesnar? What does this mean for Lesnar? Well, what it meant for Lesnar, some people were hoping for a AJ Styles, Brock Lesnar rematch. I totally would have been down with that. But no, instead, Brock Lesnar was added to the WWE Championship match, thus making it a 5-way match, a fatal 5-way. Instead of a fatal 4-way, becoming a fatal 5-way match. And I know we were going to, dive into this a little bit later on, but we might as well go in while the iron is hot, right? So, we hear that. We go, okay, it's now a fatal 5-way. Well, this should be a relatively entertaining matchup. We should be pretty good. Big E should still be able to walk out of here as the WWE champion and everything. But I gotta tell you straight up, if you would have told me that Brock Lesnar was going to be walking out of the pay-per-view as the new WWE champion, I would not have believed it. I would have thought somebody was pulling a freaking troll move. Seriously, I would have thought that. I just never. I don't think anybody, even after hearing the news that Brock Lesnar was added to the WWE Championship match, I don't think anybody would have ever thought that Lesnar was going to walk out as the new WWE champion. So why do you think? Kind of a rhetorical question, but I'll pose it out there to you guys as a nice challenge as well. You're more than welcome to answer the challenge. I think I may have an answer for it because, again, we're literally coming on live after the pay-per-view has gone off the air. So this is instant thoughts. This is instant feedbacks. This is not rehearsed shit or whatever. So I got to go with my gut instinct here, but I want you guys to marinate for a little bit why you think Brock Lesnar walked out of here as the WWE champion. I want you guys to marinate on that for a hot little bit, and we'll definitely talk a lot more about that. Look, it doesn't go to say without mentioning what we talked about on last week's batch of shows, and I know it was a unpopular topic, but a very good topic that I brought up for very good reason. And the reason why I say it was an unpopular topic is because anytime you mention COVID, pandemic, most people, they don't want to hear that, but you can't escape it because it's going to impact you directly or indirectly. And in this case, the content that you love to check out as far as pro wrestling goes, it has been impacted. We talked about how it was impacting the wrestling industry here, and it's almost in a way where things went going into 2020 and the 2021 when you really stop and think about it. So to kind of almost see, okay, we're going back to literally, and you're going, shit, hopefully we're not going to be going back to the virtual fans and the Thunderdome and all that other stuff again, right? But it goes back to what we were talking about on last week's batch of shows, which is WWE is going through some uncharted waters right now. And man, the way that it had affected them going into tonight's pay-per-view, right? But that to the side, I gotta say, for a very first inaugural WWE Day 1 pay-per-view event, which essentially took the place of TLC per se. Maybe we'll see TLC again later down the road. Who knows? But the fact that we got this was a good move. It was actually a good move. Now, some people may be saying to themselves, why is it that WWE doesn't do more Saturday pay-per-views? That may be a question that some people have been asking themselves. But to that, I say, well, not for nothing. But the past couple of WrestleManias, which has been 2-night events, they did do one on a Saturday and they did the other one on a Sunday. They did the same thing with SummerSlam as well. But if you mean just on a regular basis, I think honestly, when you get right down to the heart of the matter, you're talking about coming off of major holidays here, right? First, we're dealing with Thanksgiving, and then you're going into Christmas. And then the very next week, you're going into New Year's. A lot of people are still with their families. They're still doing nice little activities, going out of town, things of that nature. But I got to give it up to WWE. It was a very smart move on their part doing this pay-per-view because you're doing it on a Saturday night, January 1st, Happy New Year, where most people are most likely home. Right, they've done all their drinking, they've done all their partying, they've done all their hanging out, and now they're just in chill, mellow mode. They're trying to get the jump start on resting up because they got to go back to work fresh on Monday, or hell, maybe at the latest Tuesday or whatnot. So this was a good strategy, a good move. It was a good move by WWE what they had did. As far, and honestly, I wouldn't mind them doing it again. I would not mind them doing it again. I was most curious how it was going to be with attendance at that State Farm Arena in Hotlanta, Georgia. Hey, shout out to the residents out there in Georgia, particularly to the fans out there in Georgia for WWE Day 1. You guys represented. You brought the energy. You definitely had your low points, though, but where it counted the most. We'll talk about that as we go on with the show. But great crowd tonight at that State Farm Arena. Was looking at the numbers for that because we talked about it on the show earlier this week. I brought to you all's attention that at the State Farm Arena, they were looking for seat fillers. And I thought the timing of that was so interesting because if you guys ever were a little bit curious about the whole seat filler process and all of that, that actually on State Farm Arena's website, they actually put up this long little disclaimer about what all is expected of you to do as a seat filler. We talked all about this on last week's shows. So check it out when you get a chance, because it was kind of funny, you know, what we had dived into and all that. But as far as the seating capacity goes and all that, if you guys like some trivia stuff, you like your little stats and all that, this is where things had stood going into today's WWE Day 1. As of this morning, available tickets for the State Farm Arena to see Day 1, about 150 tickets. You heard me right, about 150 tickets. The way that the arena and all that was set up as far as their maximum capacity, 10,397. Tickets that were distributed, 10,247. Now, of course, you got to think about comp tickets. You got to think about maybe giveaways. You got to think about that reselling market, things of that nature. You also got to factor in the seat fillers. But when it's all said and done, that's pretty damn good. They pretty much had themselves a sold out arena that they announced many times tonight. So under the conditions, pretty damn good. Pretty damn good how they operated there. By the way, anybody that saw WWE Day 1 tonight, I'm most curious, did you guys notice the one fan that was sitting in front of the hard row camera the entire night? He had many times had 2 WWE Championship belts, one on each shoulder, and his phone was always in his hand. His back phone was red. I don't know if you guys saw him. He wore a hat. I don't know if you guys were peeping him out, but I just couldn't help but look at that guy and go, Jesus fucking Christ, where is the security detail to kindly go up to this guy and say, look, if you're taking pictures, that's fine, but you got to put the phone down. I wasn't focused on him for the entire show, but I did find myself just casually just panning the crowd. You all do it as well. I know you do, because we kind of, at times, we see who's the regular fans and everything. We didn't see the usual suspects, at least in front of the hard camera. We didn't see the usual suspects that we would normally see at WWE pay-per-views. But this guy definitely stands out like a sore thumb, because throughout the entire pay-per-view, his phone is in his hand, and he is just, at times he seemed overly animated. And after me and wifey were, because she actually watched the pay-per-view with me and everything, and earlier we were talking about, you know, seat fillers and all of that for State Farm. You know, I kept bringing him up, and she's like, well, maybe he's a seat filler. Like, yeah, he is being a little bit overly animated, isn't he? Because at times you see him, you're going, what's going on with this guy? But he had this phone in his... I just couldn't help but say to myself, yo, that must be one impressive ass cell phone, and I gotta know what that cell phone is, because for him to be able to push a cell phone for the entire pay-per-view, think about that. Factoring in the pre-show, assuming he was sitting pre-show, right? Man, to be able to go all the way up until basically 11 o'clock, and you're still pushing your phone, you're recording, you're doing whatever. I asked my wife straight up, and I guess I'll ask you guys, but I would imagine your answer is going to be the same as hers. I said, yo, I was like, imagine you went to a WWE pay-per-view event, and, you know, whether you had spent a pretty penny on getting that first front row, right? You got yourself a nice front row, front of the hard camera, or maybe you're a seat filler or whatever. Would you be on your phone the entire time? My wife was like, hell no, unless I'm taking some pictures or I'm recording just a quick video. Like, no, I'm actually going to be kicking back. I'm going to be enjoying it. I got to pose that question to you guys as well. One other thing I factored in was, well, unless your eyesight is really that bad and you're using your phone to pretty much blow up, I just don't understand. But I need to know what kind of phone the brother had, because let me tell you something. I got an Android Samsung 10 Plus. Love the phone. It's great. But man, I could leave out of my house right now with 100% charge, and I could be doing my usual commute to and from my jobs. And within 90 minutes, I go down to about 69% battery juice. And the only thing that I'm doing is pushing my Spotify, and I'm playing my Android game and Marvel Future Fight. Sparingly here and there. Like, I'll run some autoplay stuff, and then I'll have my screen in lock mode. You know, it's almost in sleep mode, standby mode, basically. And that's it. And I'm already down to 70%, 69%. By the time I get home, I'm down to about 29%. So I need to know what kind of phone, hook a man up. Unless y'all got some good phone recommendations you could put out there. But I just had to point that guy out to you guys. Good crowd though, good crowd, solid pay-per-view when it's all said and done. Hope you enjoyed this nice little side chatter talk that I've done of so far, because from here on out, 6 matches. This ain't gonna be no 2-hour pay-per-view recap. Let's go. Pre-show. I actually caught the last 5 minutes of the pre-show, so I did not see the match, the one lone match that they had on this. I really wish I could go back and check this out, and I actually will. I'll comment more about it on Monday, but I definitely want to give a shout out to Ridge Holland. Ridge Holland got messed up real bad in this matchup. He actually sustained a broken nose in his pre-show matchup, as it was Sheamus and Ridge Holland taking on Cesaro and Ricochet. Match went about 9 minutes 45 seconds. I sadly did not see this matchup, so I've actually got to go back, check it out. I'll comment more on it on Monday and everything, but by all accounts, from what many of you were saying in the forums on social media, pretty much a freak accident is what went down here, as Ridge Holland and Ricochet, they were going at it. They even showed a replay of it during day 1, but basically it was a freak accident where Ricochet legit connected with the nose of Ridge Holland, and Ridge Holland busted open pretty bad, wasn't able to continue on in the match. So Sheamus pretty much was in a handicap situation right there. Yet when it's all said and done, Sheamus was able to pick up the W there for him and Ridge Holland. So speedy recovery. Look, I gotta actually see, but those of us that's been following the career of Ricochet for many years now, we know he's a pretty smooth in-ring wrestler. Honestly, I haven't seen it yet. I didn't even see the replay when they had aired it. I actually was in another room when I heard that Ridge Holland had suffered a pretty bad injury there to the face. So I would imagine, the way they're describing it, I would imagine he's probably going to need a couple of stitches and everything. So I would imagine he's going to have to be wearing a nice little nose guard, face guard for a nice little bit. But all things considered, thinking about all of these guys involved, but especially Ricochet, I'm just gonna chalk that up as a freak accident. Accidents can and will happen, but hopefully Ridge Holland, speedy recovery. Hopefully we'll see him a lot sooner rather than later, right? But Sheamus, Ridge Holland picking up the dub there against Cesaro, Ricochet. 9 minutes 45 seconds of a tag match, kicking off the actual WWE Day 1 pay-per-view event. Usos, Jay and Jimmy Uso taking on Kofi Kingston and King Xavier Woods. By the way, how many of you guys have been checking out Xavier Woods on X-Play there, on Attack of the Show and all of that? I think he's been doing a pretty good job, has he not? I mean, he fits it so perfectly. I check him out when I can, but my go-to love is X-Play. Hands down X-Play, because I love Adam Sessler. I've been a fan of Adam Sessler for years upon years, and I'm a little bit heartbroken that Morgan Webb isn't, maybe somewhere down the road. Hopefully she'll at least make sporadic appearances, but for me growing up, Morgan Webb, Adam Sessler, that was my freaking go-to team. That was my freaking go-to team. I love those guys tremendously. But look, long as you give me the Cess, I'm freaking good. I love Adam Sessler. By the way, it's been really badass. On a personal side note, it's been badass seeing him recently go back and review some some pretty memorable game titles that sadly X-Play wasn't able to review because they weren't around back then. For example, they recently reviewed the Spider-Man game that came out for the PS4. And then he reviewed the Spider-Man Miles Morales game. Just recently reviewed the new, or it was new, but it's new for those of you that maybe haven't played the game yet. There you go. But recently he reviewed the Batman Arkham Knight game. For those of you that played that game and you're a little bit curious, I think when you understand everything that he laid out, you'll be saying, yeah, I actually totally agree. I'm not going to put any spoilers out there right now, but his rating, I gotta say, was kind of surprising. It's kind of I'll tease you with that. It was kind of surprising, but yeah, I think Xavier Woods has been doing a pretty good job so far since he's been part of the G4 family. So good stuff. I'm happy for him. Happy for him. This was a great tag match between the Usos and New Day. I got to give it up. These guys, they went about, according to my notes here, and I really didn't have to take that many notes. I've got them at about 16 minutes for their tag match. Excellent. I mean, my God, I'm not saying this and trying to, what's the term you all like to use, chase cloud or hitting the pipe too much or smoking them trees too much, whatever terminology you want to use, but I'm not over exaggerating when I say this. This was hands down from top to bottom a fantastic tag match. I love this tag match tremendously. These boys went in there and they put on a freaking clinic. If you ever wondered why these guys repeatedly keep getting tag team championship reigns, why they are given so much rope to do a lot of free roaming and everything, if from time to time there's maybe a little bit of controversy that goes down, and why they just kind of get away either scot-free or with a nice little tap on the hand or whatever, slap on the wrist or whatever. This tag match just pretty much reaffirms why these guys are the absolute shit. Seriously, if I had one bone to pick in this tag match, just one bone to pick in this tag match, for me personally, to each its own, but for me personally, there was way too many false finishes. It felt as though, okay, yeah, oh wow, right after the first 3, maybe 4 near falls, you're kind of going, okay, we're good. Let's just continue on with the in-ring action, right? Let's just keep going. But there were too many near falls. And for me, I found that as I've gotten older, teach its own, but for me personally, I have found that as I've gotten older, when I keep seeing near fall after near fall after near fall after near fall after near fall, and the time intervals, it's not a case where, okay, it's happening every 5 minutes or it's happening every 10 minutes. We got a match here that's 16 minutes. And it just felt as though we got to a point during this match where in the span of 5 minutes, maybe every 40 seconds, we kept getting near falls. For me, I'm okay with the near falls if the time intervals are spaced out pretty good. But it felt, and I think you guys would agree with me, it felt a little bit too, right? It felt a little bit too jam-packed in there. And, too much of something like that. It's no different than when you were a kid growing up. And this isn't long-winded, but it's when you're a kid growing up and your parent or your grandparent says to you, hey, sweetie, don't eat too much of the candy now. You're going to make yourself sick. And you're just kind of like, yeah, whatever. And all you know is you like it and you just keep, and the next thing you know, you got a bad tummy ache, right? You're supposed to savor that nice little treat and, tie you over until it's time for dinner, have the real deal, and then, okay, you're good to go. But, that was my concern with this match. too much of, right? Just too much of a delicacy can be a bad thing, as it can just mess up the overall dish or whatever. But other than that, putting that to the side, great tag match. Great tag match between both of these respected teams. Usos retaining their SmackDown Tag Team Championship. Nice. Very, 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 very nice. Very nice tag match right there. By the way, shout out to Pat McAfee. Enjoyed his commentating. Jimmy Smith stepping up yet again here. But really, I got to give my flowers to Pat McAfee. Very energetic from the moment that the pay-per-view came on, as he pretty much had how did he refer to the pandemic? Didn't he refer to it as a bitch? I believe he referred to it as a bitch, and I just couldn't help but go, I love Pat McAfee. Seriously, I love Pat McAfee. Next up, Drew McIntyre defeating Madcap Moss via pinfall. I've got this match being 9 minutes and about 35 seconds. First of all, why was this match almost 10 minutes? Seriously, why was this match almost 10 minutes? That was just overkill for me. You have a really great opening tag match, and then your buzzkill. I mean, it is just it's the song Bloodstone's Natural High. Taking you on a natural high, loving you more till the day I die. Take to the skies on a natural high, loving you. Yeah, I know. I'm terrible at that. But, it's like you got this natural high, this great buzz, and then you get this freaking crash. It's a big come down. And this match here was a really big come down, and not to the fault of Drew McIntyre. Shout out to Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre went in there. Drew McIntyre fucking went above and beyond to get this young man, Madcap Moss, over. But the fans were not having any of it. The fans could care less. I mean, pretty freaking quiet was this crowd, other than giving their nice little golf clap, subtle reactions to Drew McIntyre and everything. They really didn't care much about this match, and it showed. And it showed. Now, look, don't get me wrong, guys. Don't get me wrong. I'm not shitting on Riddick Moss. I think Riddick Moss, he's got a really great look. It's a damn travesty right now because we got him in suspenders, shirt, and all that. But when you look at his freaking physique and all that, I mean, this dude is pretty freaking... He's built. This dude is pretty freaking built. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a little bit baffled by that. When you see how this guy looks underneath, you're going, man, do this guy right, and under the right circumstances, this could be your light version of a Lashley or Brock Lesnar or a Big E. What the hell? And I appreciate them trying to give him more personality and all of that, but I gotta tell you, this little pairing that's going on between him and Baron Corbin, I'm just not feeling the experiment. And I look, prove me wrong otherwise, but I just feel it's not really. Is he getting his TV time? Yes, without a shadow of a doubt, and that's the most important thing. If you're in the WWE. Long as you're not sitting in the back, you're getting some type of TV time and all that. Hey, that's great. That means you're getting your face out there. You're getting your name. You're getting your brand. Your face is your brand, basically. You're getting all of that out there and all that. But I'm just not feeling what's going on with the young man so far. It's quite sad. But yeah, this match had no business going on for 10 freaking minutes. It didn't. If maybe it was a 4 or a 5 minute match, sure. A 4 or 5 minute match, sure, no problem. But to basically go 10 minutes, yeah, wasn't really a fan of that. And we've spent enough time as it is talking about this matchup. Drew McIntyre beating Riddick Moss. Now, backstage segment later on, after Drew picked up the W, he was being interviewed, and he talked about how Riddick Moss, I love that guy. I tell you what,
He's got a poor taste in fashion, but I gotta give the lad a lot of props. He's a future star.
God, that kind of hurt my throat. Give me a second. And the question was basically asked, what about Baron Corbin? Now that you've got Riddick Moss in your rearview mirror, what's going on with Baron Corbin? And before Drew could even get that answer out, he gets jumped by Moss and Corbin. They beat him up pretty bad. They set him up. They put a steel chair around his neck as Baron Corbin grabbed some type of stage structure prop, and he basically landed that bad boy into the chair, pretty much crushing the vertebrae, if you will, wink wink, of Drew McIntyre as Adam Pearce and other WWE officials looked on. So sadly, whether some of us like it or not, this tale that continues on with Riddick Moss, Happy Corbin, Drew McIntyre, yeah, the saga continues, unfortunately. It is what it is. It is what it is. Oh no. Anyway, moving on. Next one. Could care less about that. Next one. Street Profits taking on RK Bro for the WWE Raw Tag Team Championships. 11 minutes, 4 seconds of a match. RK Bro retaining their tag titles. I don't really think this was a surprise. We talked about it a couple of times during the shows over the past few weeks, where RK Bro, it seems as though while they were keeping their eyes on the Bro tournament, Alpha Academy's Chad Gable and Otis been trying to stick it to them and everything, and we've seen some singles matches that's come down between Alpha Academy, RK Bro, over the course of some Raw episodes. So you really felt as though what was about to go down here with whoever won this tournament that would go on to face RK Bro at day one, that RK Bro would come out of it and that they would continue on this path that's happening here with them and Alpha Academy. You know, we talked about this. So to see RK Bro come out of it, I mean, this really was not surprising for me. Great competitive matchup. Street Profits really taking it to another level. You know, that's the thing that I loved about Street Profits when I was watching them in NXT. And even for that first little bit when I was watching them, the first rodeo when they were on WWE Raw, they really went out there and they were putting on some hellacious, entertaining tag matches. And then it felt as though, I don't know how it was for you guys, but it felt for me at least that, you know, after that honeymoon period for that first rodeo that they were on Raw, that stuff was dialed back dramatically with those guys. And they were just delegated to little backstage skits, and they pretty much were just hyping up what was going to be going down on Raw later that night or next week or a pay-per-view. Yeah, I know you guys remember that period. But then even after that, we saw them get involved in, honestly, what I thought was one of the most stupidest freaking segments, programs, the stuff with the Viking Raiders, and that was just serious buzzkill right there. And so it kind of seemed they were in a little bit of a ditch there, not by their doing, right? Not by their doing, but it really felt bad. It really felt bad, and you were just, So to see them come out of all of that and basically getting back to the basics of what these guys know how to do best. You know, and look, I still feel in my heart of hearts that Montez Ford, I still feel that is a future singles breakout star in the making. Convince me otherwise, but I still am looking at him. And as I've always said on the show, off and on over the years, I know you guys know this line. I usually like to say very well here, but I always tell you guys, if I think I smell money, say it with me. I think I smell money, I see money, I taste money, I feel money. And baby, I'm looking at Montez Ford and I see dollar bills, y'all. Whether or not WWE is going to be smart enough to, piece it all together and execute it properly, that remains to be seen. But I'm still very high on Montez Ford. Angelo Dawkins, he's coming along. I do got to give Angelo Dawkins this nod. I got to give him his props in this regard. He was a pretty husky dude. He was a pretty husky dude, man. He was like Common Husky at one point. Common the rapper. He was like Common Husky at one point. And to see him do this great transformation he's been able to do these past several months, mad respect, man. Nothing but mad respect. Great tag match. I love the finish. I love how Riddle had came in there. What are they calling it now? I thought there was a new name that they gave the RKO finish there. I thought maybe I heard something RK1 or I thought I heard something weird in there, some type of new name for the finish. But basically, Riddle came in there, and it was kind of like they did a 3D, if you will. But it wasn't really a 3D, but kind of looked like a 3D. You guys that watch the paper, you know exactly what the move I'm talking about. But basically, Randy Orton had delivered his trademark RKO, while Riddle pretty much had set it up for Randy Orton. Picked up the 1, 2, 3, definitively RK Bro retaining tag titles. No controversy right there. Shout out to those of you that's watching live right now. Shout out to those of you that's going to be checking this out for on demand and on the downloads. If you guys been enjoying yourself so far, if you haven't done so already, please do me a huge favor. Make sure you hit that like button. When you hit that like button, you really help do your part, especially since it's free and all. You really do your part there in helping our content get more discoverable. And feel free to subscribe as well so you don't miss out on all the great content that comes your way on a weekly basis. I thought we were going to be here tomorrow night covering NXT's New Evil event, but I see that's going to be happening on Tuesday. And normally we have our Tuesdays reserved for NWA. So I will have a better idea what we're going to do in regards to that New Year's Evil takeover event. I'll have a better idea when we get to our Monday show. For you guys that's curious, I'll make announcements on Monday's show. Let's keep rocking and rolling though. We got a couple more matches to talk about. By the way, let me show some love to some of the comments that's in the chat right now. By the way, if you have not voted on the poll just yet, we will get to the results in just a hot little bit. We'll probably, most likely at this rate, we'll get to the results probably in the next 10-11 minutes, give or take. It shouldn't take us that long, but I would say about 10-11 minutes we should get into the polling results. But if you didn't vote yet, you can go either on YouTube, click on the communities tab, vote that way, or go over on Twitter at the RCWR show and cast your vote over there. Let's go to our next matchup. Edge, Miz, 1-on-1. 20 minutes, 5 seconds. Good match. For what it was worth. Good match. I love seeing the continuation of Edge coming out there, and he's got the whole Brood music going on, and once he does the full entrance, he pretty much stops in the middle of the stage ramp, puts his head down, and then we go into the traditional Edge music. I like that. I'm liking all of that. And it's funny because one of my coworkers actually had told me a fun story that I didn't even know about in regards to Gangrel. And I guess I'll share it with you guys. Because he said to me, and I never even knew this, right? So it was actually refreshing to hear this. But he told me, he said, yeah, Gangrel, he tried to buy the rights to play that Brood music since WWE wasn't doing anything with it. Like, really? Yeah, he was trying to get the rights to it, and once WWE had caught wind of it, they decided to snatch it up again. But Gangrel apparently had some plans with that music. Wow, okay, cool. So I thought that was, something I just thought was kind of cool, pass along to you and everything. They clicked pretty good, Miz and Edge. I gotta say, I went into this with a little bit of low expectations, because at one point, actually at work, because it turns out there's a decent amount of wrestling fans at at my second job, we were talking for about 5 minutes, and we got on the subject of Edge. And we all had a little bit of mixed reactions when it came to Edge. We all agreed that Edge looks phenomenally great. He's in the best shape of his life right now. Or as I said to the fellas, he's got that Bowflex bod right now. Y'all know exactly the commercial I'm talking about. You got that saying they've been pushing there for freaking 20-something years now. I think the guy's name is Matt, some bald-headed white guy with a goatee, black shades or whatever. And dude is saying, I'm Matt. I'm in a rock band. I'm in my 40s, and I'm using Bowflex. And, you know, he's playing the little bass and all that, showing off his little abs, right? Kind of reminds you of that 80s, maybe 90s muscle-headed saxophone player from back in the day. At one point, he was in a few movies. Y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. Big, muscular, white dude. His hair was in a ponytail, it was all frizzy or whatever. He had that freaking saxophone going, right? So we all agreed, Edge, pretty good. Like, the matches, you know, we all agreed that as far as his matches goes, not quite. We all couldn't put our finger on it, but something felt a little off. Not age, because of age, but something just felt a little off with the Edge that we're seeing in the ring today versus the Edge of yesteryear. We really couldn't quite put our finger on it. But we all definitely did talk about this upcoming match with Miz, and you know, we all pretty much kind of low expectations. Not saying that the match was going to suck, but we just went into this kind of saying, you know what, this should be, for all intents and purposes, a bit of an average, you know, a subpar match, maybe even slightly an above average match. You know, wait and see how it plays out. And I felt it was honestly, above average. It was an above average match, but it told a really good story. I personally feel, you know, what you couldn't help but wonder was how much of an impact Maurice was going to play in this, because you just knew she was going to somehow get herself involved. You just knew she was, and sure enough, right on cue, she did. Right on cue, she did. While Miz was distracting the referee, Maurice was in there at one point, and she got a little physical with Edge. I remember there was another point in the match where referee was so focused on the count that Maurice managed to get Miz's leg up on the ropes, and pretty much she got the ref's attention. Match had pretty much continued and everything. Final moments of this matchup, which set up a really good, something we've been talking about for several weeks now, before every single Tom, Dick, and Harry podcaster had jumped on this. If I wasn't the first, I was one of the first, among the first, to say Edge, Maurice, Miz, Phoenix, let's see what happens if we can just involve all these parties, and whether or not we can do something leading up to WrestleMania or it culminates at WrestleMania. Hey, let's just freaking do it. It should be entertaining as hell. And you know, some people were actually a little bit sour on that. I saw some people actually try to make the comparison to Cena, Nikki, and I see it to a degree, but totally, completely different beasts when it's all said and done. But final moments of this one, Maurice, I mentioned she got Miz's boot up on the rope, and both guys continue to go back at it. Miz takes Edge into the corner, goes in with a little bit of offense there while he's got Edge in the corner, does a running clothesline and all of that. Edge right up there, connects with a nice hip toss, tries to set things up to get in a spear from the corner, but then Maurice gets in a cheap shot She gets in a kick as well, if I remember, that had helped set up Miz for the skull crushing finale. And you just thought once you had saw that spot go down, oh baby, that's it, match is over, 1 2 3. Oh, Miz walks out of here with an upset victory here, but it's kicked out. And next thing you know, we've got the fans. You can see the fans in front of the hard camera. They're looking on, but in a different direction. They're no longer looking in the middle of the ring. They're now looking over in the direction of the ramp, and it's kind of one of those, who the hell is that? I'm going, okay, they're distracted. Either a fan is up to no good, or maybe that's Beth Phoenix. And Maurice, I don't know how she ended up finding out, okay, yeah, go ahead, turn around. But finally she turns around, and we just see this mean-haired looking white woman just mean mugging. She's got this, she's making these weird, funny looking faces. Just apologize for those of you that's not able to see me, that's going to be listening to the audio version. But the way Beth Phoenix was doing her freaking facial expressions, you want to talk about overly animated. You want to talk about overly freaking animated. She reminded me of freaking what's the character from Breaking Bad / Better Call Saul, Hector Salamanca. She reminded me with her facial expressions of freaking Hector Salamanca, where she's just like, and yeah, Kevin Dunn had no choice but to play the damn woman's freaking music, because everybody at this point is going, who the hell is this crazy looking white woman with this troll doll looking weird freaking Mad Max hairdo that's just mean mugging? Is this a random fan? And you had to play the Beth Phoenix music so everybody kind of realized, oh, it's Beth. And let me tell you what was serious buzzkill. All of that was buzzkill. But in addition to that, what also was buzzkill was the fact that here we had cute Maurice. Maurice was extremely sexy tonight, by the way. Extremely sexy tonight. I love the whole outfit, everything that she had going on. She simply looked marvelous, quote Billy Crystal. I've never seen a woman struggle so much to try to run up the ramp and towards the back, all around the ring and all that on high heels. This woman was struggling. This woman was struggling to run. You got Beth Phoenix, who's just coming down there after the mean mugging faces. She's coming down there. She's charging after Maurice. And Maurice is just, she's almost acting as if she is gently trying to make sure she watches her steps on some ice at a skating ring, because she doesn't want to freaking fall under, right? It was one of those type of tippy toes on her heels. And you're looking at Beth, you're going, Beth, you got her. You freaking got her. Just go ahead, do your thing, pounce on her. And somehow Maurice just, on her tippy little high heels, just I'm telling you, gotta go back. If you didn't watch the pay-per-view, you just gotta go back and look at that sequence, because you're looking at this and you're going, so wait, Beth couldn't catch up with that? Beth could not catch up with that. My puppy is 7 weeks old, and my puppy would freaking be able to catch Maurice struggling in her tippy toe little high heels tonight with ease. And yet Beth Phoenix was struggling to get her hands. Ooh, she's so mad. Ooh, Beth Phoenix is so mad. And she just watches Maurice just tiptoe to my window. That's where I'll be when you tiptoe to my window. I'll be one of those type of deals. Funny shit, man. Funny shit. So this pretty much ends the way you thought it would, where Beth Phoenix gets in the face of Miz. And you're thinking at this point, okay, maybe Beth is going to lose her cool here a little bit. Maybe she's going to get so hot-headed. You know, hot-blooded, check if you see. Got a fever of 100 degrees. Miz, you're going down. Hot-blooded. I thought she was getting ready to deck his ass. And Miz would get pretty much a victory via DQ. But no. Instead, Beth is just talking mad trash to Miz. And they're just jawing off. By the time Miz turns around, boom! Spear by Edge. 1, 2, 3. That's it. Victory. As the power couple and Edge and Beth Phoenix stay posing in the middle of the ring, looking on very, very pleased. So, obviously, this chapter not over just yet. Without a doubt, we're going to see Miz, Maurice. Probably wouldn't be surprised if it happened as early as Royal Rumble. You know, maybe do a little bit of trash talking, right? You know, also, I wouldn't be surprised. What I can't help but wonder, if we're going to see this intergender match come about at the Royal Rumble, or if maybe we're going to see something where Miz, Edge, they respectfully enter the Royal Rumble. Now there's a thought. There's a thought. I'm going to keep that thought to myself till Monday. I'll divulge on that on Monday, but no, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Edge and Miz were to enter the Royal Rumble, but I can't help but wonder if Miz's and Edge's women, I can't help but wonder if the wives are maybe going to somehow try to get involved in that, or it's an interesting road that we're on right now, but this does not feel over. That's my whole point. This does not feel over just yet between these guys. So I'm very curious to see the next big development here that comes about. Is Miz going to try to come out on Monday and say, you know, he pretty much had the match won? Is he going to try to twist things in some warped reality where I wouldn't be surprised if Beth Phoenix were to make an appearance as early as Monday's Raw too? So very curious to see how all of that is going to come out. But a decent match, a decent match between Miz and Edge. I'll definitely give them their respective props. Like I said, it was a bit above average. You know, it wasn't instant that the fans were able to get into this. As you're watching the fans that's live in attendance, and I definitely would say as you're watching this match early on, you're going to be just like the fans in attendance. You're just, it's all right. But towards the end is where things really kind of pick up. But the ending, I mean, we definitely, you know, we always knew that the mixed tag team match, that definitely was going to be coming down the pipeline, but I wouldn't be surprised if there were many other people that went into this match and said, nah, you know what? Miz should be able to get this win, and that basically Edge is going to have to, okay, obviously the deck keeps getting stacked against me, because that was essentially the story that they were kind of telling here, which is the deck is constantly stacked against Edge. Edge needs the equalizer. And I'm not talking about freaking Queen Latifah. I'm not talking about freaking Denzel Washington. Okay? I'm not even talking about the freaking original Equalizer TV show from back in the day. That was starring my man. Oh man, what was the name of my man? What was the name of my man? Edward Woodward. Shout out if you remember the original Equalizer, right? Now, I'm not talking about that kind of Equalizer. No, I'm talking about picking up the phone and calling up the wifey. You just felt that there was going to be this big, and it just felt so flat like soda tonight. I don't know, but pretty good. Pretty good, above average match for what it was worth. All right, let's go to our next one. Becky Lynch, Liv Morgan, Raw Women's Championship match. 16 minutes. Becky Lynch retains. First off, mad props to both girls, especially for Liv Morgan. These girls went into this match, and I really want to make sure I'm giving my flowers, particularly nice big old bouquet to Liv Morgan, because yes, both girls went into this. They told a fantastic story. They really bust their asses off in this match. But I am particularly proud of Liv Morgan because, look, have I said some harsh things about some wrestlers over the years? But rightfully so, because I never make it personal. It's never personal. It's just constructive criticism. That's always been my agenda, just providing constructive criticism, constructive feedback, being honest. Yes, I've definitely said some stuff that's been very, okay, that's his opinion. Okay, it is what it is. But I've also been that same person that recognizes when somebody has truly been going in there, putting in the effort, and it's a new leap. It's a whole new 180 for them. And Liv Morgan has done a phenomenal job pulling a 180 for a young woman that honestly didn't know jack shit about in-ring wrestling. Remember where she started off. Well documented in some of the most recent interviews she's put out there. And to see where she is now with her in-ring game, there's just no telling where she'll be in a couple of more years. But, you know, you really couldn't help but truly take a step back tonight and truly appreciate the hard work that she's been putting in at this stage in her career. She really, really bust her ass off. Now, granted, Morgan at times during this match against Becky didn't look that polished. You know, still some green in a few areas here, but sister made the most out of the opportunities that's been provided to her so far in working with Becky these past several weeks. And tonight, no exception whatsoever. No exception whatsoever. She came pretty close. She came pretty damn close to winning this championship. I have a feeling if they want to run this back one more time, if they want to, they can. And as we all have alluded to collectively, we all have said either two things. Either you have Liv Morgan win the Royal Rumble and she goes on to face Becky Lynch at Mania, or whenever you have a new Money in the Bank, Liv Morgan wins Money in the Bank and you pretty much, you go in that direction. Because the way things are looking right now, you can't help but say, okay, well, for the time being, with Liv Morgan now out of the way, and Liv Morgan pretty much and I want to make sure I really stress this. I really want to make sure I stress this. The way in which Becky Lynch beat Liv Morgan, you can't say, oh, well, there was some shenanigans that was going on here in this matchup. So as far as maybe another encounter between these two girls, no. This was one of those, your ass got served. Your ass got freaking served up in the kitchen like it's stir fry. Shout out to Migos, by the way. I love Migos. If you are not a fan of Migos, but you are definitely into the rap, you've yet to check out Migos, you will not be disappointed. Go check out Migos. For those of you that are even fans of Cardi B, maybe you're not aware of this, or you've kind of heard a little bit of Cardi B's music off and on. I know Migos did a collaboration with Cardi B. It's like a couple, if I remember correctly, but the Drip Song by Cardi B. Damn, Cardi B is one fine ass sister, man. One fine ass black Puerto Rican sister, man, or Cuban sister. I apologize, black Cuban sister. But yeah, Migos, good shit, man. I love Migos. Migos representing tonight. We saw them. Yeah, I thought for sure we were gonna get a special presentation by them. I thought for sure they were gonna bust out a couple of songs and Man, it would have been the right crowd to do it in front of. Hot Atlanta would have been all right, but WWE, I don't know, maybe they couldn't afford, or whatever. It was what it was. But yeah, you would have thought that maybe there was going to be some shenanigans that was going down here, but no. Becky Lynch beat Liv Morgan cleanly in the middle of the ring. Closing moments of this matchup, Becky Lynch was able to counter the Oblivion into a manhandle slam from off the ropes, off the side of the ropes. It was a nice little sequence that had went down there off the ropes there, where Becky Lynch was able to connect with that manhandle slam. And she went in with the pin on that note once she did that manhandle slam. I thought for sure she was going to try to set up Liv Morgan for the disarmor or something along those lines, but no, she just went in with that slam and was able to get in the pin attempt. You see Becky Lynch's feet try to reach for the ropes as she was trying to get in a little bit of leverage to put in that extra little bit of a fuck you to Liv Morgan, but she was miles away from hitting it. Now, of course, the question may be asked, okay, was that a fuck up, or no, definitively in the middle of the ring, this is how it was always supposed to play out here? I can't help but wonder. It's really a good, valid question. If you have that question, you're going, okay, did Becky Lynch kind of mess this up? You know, she overshot a little bit. Your guess is as good as mine. We'll know as we get ready to go into Monday's show and see where everything goes. But I'm in agreement still with what everybody else has been saying, which is either Royal Rumble, Liv Morgan wins, faces Becky, or the next misses Money in the Bank. But if you're not going in any of those directions, you've got to do something going into the Royal Rumble, because now that you've pretty much got Liv Morgan in the rearview mirror, what's next? Are we going back to Bianca Belair? Because if we are going back to Bianca Belair, I'm totally down for it. I am totally down for Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch. But let's freaking build up to that point already. You know, we've done such a poor job with Rhea Ripley. You know, does WWE really try to go back to the drawing board and properly build up Rhea Ripley? Lacey Evans is kind of teasing there that she's about to come back, but you know how the WWE fans can be, man. You could be out for maybe a year, but that could be a freaking eternity. A year could essentially be 5 years for WWE fans. They've gone on. They're not interested in that particular drink. They're on to something else. So, you know, here's my thing. If you really mean well by Lacey Evans and you want to make sure she's off to a really good start and all that, bring her back as a babyface. Play up to that military background of hers. I mean, it would just work out so freaking well. Not to mention, you think about it from a marketing standpoint. You look at all women, young girls of all ages, and how they're really big into the Wonder Woman. They're big into the Captain Marvel. We got the upcoming Kamala Khan series on Disney Plus that's getting ready to go down. You got Black Widow. You got freaking, I'm trying to think, Black Widow's sister, who, I mean, she's doing phenomenally well as well, especially if you had watched the new Hawkeye series and all that. You know, we got all these great, powerful female characters that are running around right now. You go to Star Trek Discovery, good, strong, powerful women. How do you not, if you got to really know your audience here. So that whole Southern tea, foghorn, leghorn, I do believe it's hot out here, and I am fixing for a big old pitcher of some homemade country lemonade. Lacey Evans, no, we need to retire that. Just play off of the military background, make her a female Captain Marvel, Captain America. right? I mean, the way I'm picturing it, it'd be pretty badass. You could easily pull it off. If you maybe want to bring her back in that kind of capacity, okay, cool. Otherwise, I don't know how Foghorn Leghorn Lacey Evans would do this go round. I really don't. That's really pushing it, as far as I'm concerned. It's really pushing it. But WWE's in a very, for the Raw side of the Women's Championship at least, they're in a very tight little position right here. So I'm very curious to see where they're going to be going leading up to the Royal Rumble here. I don't think I have anything in addition to say with regards to these women. That pretty much was it. Earlier, we were talking about the Royal Rumble matchup. The Royal Rumble match itself. Well, Jackass's Johnny Knoxville of Jackass fame, he apparently wasn't lying. Everybody was just, yeah, whatever, dude. Whatever, man. Turns out he wasn't bullshitting. He is officially entering the Royal Rumble. That's all I got to say. Can Vince McMahon do one thing? Can Vince McMahon maybe call up Johnny Knoxville and say,
hey, pal, appreciate you doing this for us. Need a favor. Get some Just for Men hair dye and yeah, take care of that. Take care of that. We don't need people thinking senior citizens are entering Royal Rumble, you know?
Right? Can he at least dye his hair when he gets ready to enter that bad boy? Just me personally, to each its own. I just feels that freaking devalues the hell out of the Rumble itself. I really do. I've always, say what you will, but I've always looked at the Royal Rumble match itself and everybody that's able to participate in it, whether they win or not. Just the fact that they're in that Royal Rumble match, I've always looked at it as, from this standpoint, okay, everybody that pretty much has helped out in some form, dark matches, maybe a main event show, or maybe they did something on the other shows, right? I always looked at that as, okay, even though they're not winning the Rumble, the fact that they're involved in it, it's a nice little nod and saying, hey, thank you for all the work that you've been putting in all these months, not going unrecognized. Yeah, get in there, do your thing and all that. And we're pretty much wasting one of those prime spots for a Jackass guy. Whatever. Main event match. 5-way. Brock Lesnar, Big E, Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, Bobby Lashley. Fatal 5-way WWE Championship match. We already talked about it earlier. Those of you that's just now tuning in, Roman Reigns, COVID, he's out. He got tested today or Saturday, and he'll be back a lot sooner than later. Man, at the earliest, 10 days of quarantine, get tested again, comes back negative, he's good to go. He can do his thing, no problem. So, Brock Lesnar added to the WWE Championship match. So instead of a 4-way, it now becomes a 5-way. I thought it was pretty funny how leading up to this match, Kevin Owens was being interviewed about Lesnar entering this match and everything. And Kevin Owens had the funniest line in here. He said, this is not, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, this is not fair to him because originally it was supposed to be a fatal 4-way. And I just couldn't help but laugh my ass off and say, actually, Kevin, you know, it actually was supposed to be freaking Seth Rollins taking on Big E, and yet somehow you were able to go in there and just magnify things. So, but this is his story that he's telling, right? That's his narrative. So, but I just thought that was kind of fun. I don't know if you guys were thinking the same thing there. I love how this match had started. I love how Lesnar, being the last guy to come out after everybody makes all their entrances, Lesnar is the last one to come out. Many of us were wondering how much of a Paul Heyman effect, if at all, was going to be applied here. And, you know, obviously, no Paul Heyman effect was going to be needed because no Roman Reigns. I'm very curious. I'd love to be a fly on the wall to know what was the original blueprint here. But it is what it is. Lesnar, as soon as he comes down, does his little trademark pounce and all that, jumps up on the apron, looking at his opponents. Boy, they were real quick to beat his ass down. I mean, he pretty much rolled tide. They pretty much jumped his ass, led by Rollins and Owens. They pretty much got the jump on Lesnar. Lesnar came right back. He delivered a two-piece meal combo, form of suplexes on Owens and Rollins. Lesnar felt so greedy, he had to go for a three-piece, actually. He actually was able to get a three-piece in there on Owens. Big E and Lesnar, they go at it for a little bit. Big E clotheslines Lesnar, I think a couple of times. I think the second go-round, he was able to clothesline Lesnar outside of the ring. Lashley ends up spearing the hell out of Lesnar from outside. Actually sent Lesnar crashing through the wall barricade. Somehow Big E got taken out. I don't know if it was by Owens and them, but somehow Big E got taken out of the equation for a nice little bit. From there, Lashley had a nice little good strong showing until he got super kick party by Owens and Rollins. Nice good stereo super kick. Pretty much laid him out for a bit. From there, Rollins did a nice suicide dive on the Lesnar outside the ring. Owens followed up with a frog splash off the side of the apron. Nice sequence. I mean, the team of Rollins and Owens, they were just clicking right here when they were laying down the hurt to Lesnar and Lashley. From there, they grabbed some steel steps. They were able to go to the dome. I'm trying to think. Did they go to the dome of... Big E was still out of the equation. They went to the dome of Lashley. And then they took those same steel steps. They took it to the head of Lesnar. Laid him out. They then went over to the announcer's table. Cleared that bad boy. Got it all ready to go. They pretty much had... What did they try to do after that? They tried to do... Yeah, it's coming back to me now. They tried to do a double suplex on Lashley, but he managed to counter it. But then Big E finally came back into the mix, got him some. He did a nice little modified bookend to... God, I got my guys kind of mixed up in there. You guys got to forgive me. Yeah, he did a nice bookend to Lashley, sent him crashing through the table there. I'm pretty sure it was, it was Big E doing the bookend to Lashley. Yeah, I remember it correctly. A little bit later on, Owens comes in with a super kick on the Big E. Owens, Rollins, they managed to do that double DDT onto the steel steps. That was actually a pretty damn good spot that they did. Frog splash done on Big E. Fast forward a little bit more. Actually, a little bit after that, Lesnar just comes in there. He's on fire. Watch out now. He's on fire. He comes in there and he is just dishing out F5s like Halloween candy. He gives freaking Rollins a F5. He gives Owens a F5. He gives Big E a F5. I think he went in for a cover. I don't know if it was a cover on Big E, but I remember Lashley interrupted the count. Hurt Lock was then applied on Lesnar. And can we just take a quick sidebar here? How amazing was it that we finally got to see some type of a incarnation of Lashley and Brock Lesnar? This is something that Lashley has been wanting for a long time, especially when he became the WWE champion. This is something that he has been talking about in many interviews with a passion. And to finally, and you know, it might not be one-on-one, but to finally be able to do some type of business with Lesnar and prove that, hey man, we got something special here. We can do something here, make some good money and all that. Lesnar, I gotta tell you, Lashley really stepped up to Lesnar and looked quite impressive. He looked quite impressive, I gotta say. The little opportunities that he had there and working with Lesnar, he made it count for what it was worth. Whether or not that's gonna pay off down the pipeline, we'll have to wait and see. But Big E tries to get Lesnar in the big ending. Lesnar manages to counter that, spins that son of a bitch into the F5. That was his counter. He countered the big ending into a F5. Boom. 1, 2, 3. Brock Lesnar, your new WWE champion. Crowd was stunned. Air sucked out of their guts. I don't blame them. I don't blame him. I did not see this coming. I got to tell you straight up, when I saw this finish, I was watching this in real time, and wifey was sitting next to me, and we had our dogs in the bed, and I just shouted real loud. I said, "What?" And my wife, was doing a little bit of reading. She looks up. She's like, what happened? Lesnar? I'm like, yeah. She's like, Lesnar won? I say, yeah, like that's not, she doesn't know because she's not watching what's going on the SmackDown side of things. I'm going, this is the impact as far as no Roman, and now we're kind of seeing this snowball domino effect, if you will. Remember the question I posed out there earlier to you guys? And if you missed it, I said, why do you think we went down this path with Brock Lesnar as the WWE champion? Remember that. We'll get to that in just a hot little bit. But first, I want to see what you guys had to say about WWE Day 1 tonight. So let's see what you guys... What the hell? Let's see... Interesting. Looking at a business proposition there. You guys got to forgive me. Let's see what you guys had said via Twitter at the RCWR show. And survey says... I'm looking at it. Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. So we have 24% of you guys. This is an exclusive option too on Twitter, whereas YouTube, I don't have this option on there. But on Twitter, 24% Brock Lesnar champ. What? 28% of you gave the pay-per-view a thumbs down. Meanwhile, 48% of you gave the pay-per-view a thumbs up. Let's see what you guys are saying via YouTube at the RCWR show. Click on the communities tab and you'll see the polling option over there. I'm getting ready to load it up. There we go. Right now, 11% of you guys are giving the pay-per-view a thumbs down. Meanwhile, 89% of you are giving WWE Day 1 a thumbs up. So, yeah, look, for what it was worth in regards to this pay-per-view, I said, to echo what I mentioned at the top of the show, I felt it was a very solid pay-per-view, despite the fact that it was a rather predictable card as far as, okay, this person should win, the predictability of the winners, with the exception of perhaps the main event match. With the exception of that. And it's kind of funny too, because I remember saying to you guys when we were going over match predictions on Wednesday's show, I said, if there were maybe 2 matches I had to put an asterisk by and say a swerve could actually happen right here or here, my asterisk went by Liv Morgan, Becky Lynch, and then my other asterisk went to Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar. Boy, talk about eerie. You could almost make an argument. Lee, you kind of, your spidey sense was kind of tingling there a little bit on the Roman Brock Lesnar there. Yeah. Scale of 1 to 10, I would give this pay-per-view probably a 7, maybe a 7.5 out of 10. Good, solid show. Honestly, the biggest buzzkill of the entire pay-per-view that I would have left off, McIntyre Moss. I would have brought that down. There was no reason for that match to happen on the pay-per-view itself. Nothing else was on this pay-per-view with the exception of the shocking finish in that WWE Championship match. This was definitely one of those, you know, if you weren't in the house because you were with family or, you know, you're good. You were good. But if you wanted to be in on that shocking moment with that WWE Championship and the way that had played out and everything, that ending, that definitely changes up a few things going forward, especially as far as the Royal Rumble goes, because we're now officially on the road to WrestleMania. So I gave you guys enough time to maybe submit some stuff as far as your ideas and all of that. I'm poking my head in the chat right now. Shout out to Chief, who says, day one, best wrestling show of the year. Laugh out loud. Hey, you know, it's fun to laugh at yourself, right? We all got to do it sometimes. I know what you mean, though. I know what you mean, Chief. You basically are saying, hey, WWE pretty much, they set the table off popping on a good note. Yes, I definitely will give you that nod. Double A, as someone who hasn't watched any WWE shows, I liked the day one pay-per-view. Rui trying to sound like Rui Cheyenne Tio. Rui trying to sound like Ruby Soho. Ruby Soho. This is a great pay-per-view. What will happen with Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns moving forward with Brock winning the WWE Heavyweight Championship? Look, honestly, the way I'm kind of looking at things right now, we're talking about the Royal Rumble season, right? Roman Reigns is going to have to be in quarantine for at least 10 days beginning right now. If he said he tested positive today, and again, thinking about everything that we had said earlier in the show, all things considered, he probably was off of some of those house shows from last week plus out of a precaution, you know, because what was the date that we put out there? The last time he wrestled was on December 18th. On December 18th. So think about that. December 18th. So you already know December 18th going to the 28th. That's 10 days right there. So 29, 30, 31, and then 1. Right? So he hasn't wrestled in 14 days. I would not be surprised if, as a precaution, maybe he was kind of starting to feel a little bit and he just felt, you know, it's probably nothing. You know, let me just, you know, take it easy. Let me just stay off the road for a little bit, take some Dayquil or whatever, and I should be good to go. And, right, so WWE just, and not to mention he has a compromised immune system, you know, having successfully beat that round of leukemia when it came back and all. So all things considered, I mean, look, not for nothing, but wifey she's sick as we speak. She is sick as we speak. She came down with something maybe, I would say last week. She swears that she's pretty sure whatever she has right now, she unintentionally gave it to her mom because of the few interactions that she had with her mom and all that. Her mom got tested just a couple of days ago, knocking on wood, because she's in her late 60s now, knocking on wood because her COVID test came back negative. But wifey is going through some symptoms, and she has both of her shots. She was supposed to get her booster shot. She was supposed to get her booster shot at the end of November, and I kept saying to her, look, we got to get you your shots because the closer we are getting into Christmas and New Year's, it's going to be tough. And I'm sure you guys have seen it with your own two eyes. Now it's really hard to go get tests. You got to be either waiting in lines for 2, 3, 4 hours. You can't even do the home kit test because people are hoarding the hell out of those and all of that, right? So the way I got my wife set up right now, I said, look, try to limit the amount of people that you interact with for right now. You know, quarantine yourself take your medicine, all that. I'm gonna help you out. So I've been giving her Mucinex, NyQuil, Dayquil, Alka-Seltzer Code. You know, she's feeling better, you know, but it's kind of one of those deals where you go, I don't know, man, maybe as a precaution, you know, you're not good. You're not dramatically good next time you're supposed to go to work. You know, maybe as a precaution, get your tests. It's better to be safe than sorry, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if in the case of WWE and all that, they did what they did as a precaution. And for all we know, we're speculating, obviously, but nothing wrong with a little bit of friendly speculating. But for all we know, I'm just hoping you guys look at it a couple of different ways. That's all. And how you ultimately walk away from it, that's up to you all to decide. But, you know, he could have obviously came down with something, and or maybe there was a case where a few people, part of the WWE staff and all of that, they came down with a little something, and as a precaution, okay, well, Roman, look, you know, we take pretty much all we need. Okay, we'll worry about the pay-per-view. That's all we'll really worry about. We'll just worry about the pay-per-view. Look, we do need you to do this thing with Paul Heyman. Maybe we could just have you pop up in a tour bus or something, and you could just stay in your bus till it's time for your segment. Don't interact with anybody else, and, you know, then go do your stuff, and then just roll out, right? It could have been something definitely along those lines, but for him to reveal himself that he got tested positive today, Saturday, because we're now going into Sunday here on the East Coast, new CDC guidelines, right? At least 10 days you gotta quarantine yourself. As a matter of fact, I know I had said I didn't want to bore you guys with those logistics and all of that, but I actually remember taking a screenshot about the CDC quarantine guidelines. And let me see, if you go to cdc.gov, you can actually see the new revised information here. And let's see. Let me see here. Yeah, it's pretty much the same, guys. It's pretty much the same like what I had mentioned earlier. It was 14 days before. Now it's basically 10 days. And there's actually this part I will read to you guys. I will read this part to you guys because I don't want to get it too complex for you guys. You may shorten, this is on CDC's website, okay? You may be able to shorten your quarantine. That's the section. Your local public health authorities make the final decisions about how long quarantine should last based on local conditions and needs. Follow the recommendations of your public health department if you need to quarantine. Options they will consider include stopping quarantine after 10 days without testing, after day 7 after receiving a negative test result. Tests must occur on day 5 or later. On day 5 or later. So it's kind of one of those, whichever's going to come first for Roman. Either Roman, while he's in quarantine, doesn't get tested for another 10 days, but then maybe after the 7th day, right? Because remember that part, after day 7, after receiving a negative test result, tests may occur on day 5 or later. So Roman, I mean, could you do both? Could you do the 10 days and then maybe, obviously they need him back a lot sooner. I would imagine what's probably the most likely case scenario, Roman's out for 2 weeks. Now, why are we going on and on and on about this with Roman? This goes back to the Brock Lesnar effect that I had mentioned earlier. I honestly believe that the move that they did here with Brock Lesnar is because with Roman being out for a hot little bit, and then you have Brock Lesnar, who, remember, he's a free agent. He is a free agent. So this puts Brock Lesnar in a really good position right here for WWE for the time being, at least for the next 2 weeks. If they need him to pop up on both shows, basically, you know, until Roman gets back, then he can pretty much do that. What this also does as well, this sets up, and I'm really hoping that they're going in this direction, and the fact that they had the two lock eyes at the end of this match strongly suggests to me we're finally going to be seeing it. But did anybody else peep out on the fact that Lashley was looking on after Lesnar won the championship there? He looked on almost as if this isn't over between you and I. So I kind of got this feeling that Lesnar, Lashley, they are going to be colliding for that WWE Championship. So it's a very interesting scenic route that we're taking right now. Look, when I think about Big E as WWE Champion, first of all, my hat off to Big E. My hat off to Big E as WWE Champion. Very charismatic, just... I loved him as WWE Champion, putting in some damn good matches. The hard work that he's put in over the years, it's a moment that I'll remember for many years to come. I'm in my 40s now, and I promise you guys, in my 50s, 60s, I'm still going to look at Big E as WWE Champion as one of my most fondest WWE moments. I'm going to look at it as one of my fondest WWE memories. All that praise to the side, though. I mean, we all got to dig down deep, and we got to take a good hard look in the mirror, and we got to take a real good hard look at that run that Big E had as WWE Champion, and we all got to admit to ourselves something was lacking with his championship reign. And you just couldn't quite put your finger on it. But there was something that was just... And we talked about this before. It's... I hate to go with the food analogy, man. But it's one of those... You're making a really good soup. And you've got the oregano. You've got the Mrs. Dash in there. You've got a little bit of chopped vegetables in there, and right, but you're tasting it. Something is missing. Literally, a couple of days ago, I had made my famous tuna. I made it. Something was missing. I put my eggs in there. Yes, black people put eggs in their tuna. That's how we do it. Don't knock it till you try it. So I put the eggs in there, right? I put the mayo. I go with the Hellman's mayo. I put in a little bit of black pepper. I put in a little bit of paprika. I'm doing my thing with it. I'm tasting it. Something's off. It's tasting extremely bland. Something is... I let my wife try some of it. She goes, yes, something is missing. There's a lot missing. I'm like, well, what am I missing? So she whips it up. She adds in some relish, a little bit of honey mustard. I'm tasting it. I'm going, okay, that's better than what I did. But something is still missing. When I look at Big E's championship run, something was lacking. And I can't, for the love of me, maybe one of you guys out there that are going, you're nodding your head and you're going, I know exactly what you're talking about. I have been feeling the same thing, and I like Big E, but yeah, I'm feeling the way you're feeling, dog. Maybe you know what it is that was missing, but there was just something to this day. I can, it's on the tip of my tongue. I can almost grab it. I can almost feel it. I can almost smell it. I can almost taste it. I can almost see it. I can almost hear it. But I don't know what it is. You know, it was a telltale sign for me that there were so many moving parts involved with Big E's championship reign. Threat coming from Lashley. Threat coming from Kevin Owens. Threat coming from Seth Rollins, right? You know, all these fucking... man, this guy's not really able to truly thrive here as a WWE champion. It seems as though he's having all of these working parts and involved here where just to fluff up the championship reign, just to dock it up, Doctor it up. That's how it kind of felt. But despite all of that, I gotta say, I went into this and I felt, nah, man, Big E should be able to get through these waters, whatever it is that's missing. He's gonna, whatever it is, that light bulb's gonna go off, and I don't even think he would be able to put his finger on whatever it is that I'm talking about, that maybe some of you guys are talking about, that something's missing. But very frustrating. Very frustrating when it's on the tip of your tongue and you just can't. But all of that to the side, I thought for sure Big E definitively was going to be walking out of here as the WWE champ. Even after the announcement was made of Brock Lesnar, I always felt that the way that this match was going to play out, I felt, well, Lesnar ain't eating a pin, because we got to try to protect him, because eventually him, Roman Reigns. So Lesnar ain't eating a pin. Okay, Lashley? Nah, Lashley's kind of doing this whole, allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Bob Lashley, right? So I don't really see him eating it. Nah, take him out of the equation. So that pretty much left for me Owens, Rollins. I felt one of those two were going to eat a pin or a submission by Big E, and Big E still retains. Before it to play out the way that it did, like I said, we're most likely going to be out with Roman Reigns for at least about 2 weeks there. And so I'm most curious to see where we're going to be going with this on the road to the Royal Rumble. Are we going to be going down a path where, as I mentioned earlier, Brock Lesnar is going to be showing up on both shows? You know, we've seen that happen before. So, and remember, he's a free agent. He's still a free agent. Even though he's got that WWE Championship now, he could still pop up on SmackDown. He could still do that. And I wouldn't be surprised if it were to still happen. So, because remember, it's all about the Royal Rumble. It is all about the Royal Rumble right now. So anybody could pop up. We could see, well, obviously not Drew McIntyre, because he's kind of tied up, but you get the point. You can insert whatever names that you want to insert, and you can picture on that respective show who's going to pop up, try to get into the face of Brock Lesnar and everything. I don't know, guys. This is I've seen a lot of stuff over the 10 plus years that I've been on the air. I've never seen a move quite like this before, where you think you know what's going on the road to the Royal Rumble, on the road to WrestleMania, and then you get such a curveball like this one. I'm sure as the days progress, we're going to be learning a lot more. But the fact that we went in this direction, if you were to ask me straight up, do I feel Big E may go to the Royal Rumble, win it, and then maybe it's a setup to have Big E defeat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania? No. My gut instinct, as cool as that would be, my gut instinct, I'm not seeing that whatsoever. I'm not seeing that whatsoever. I legit feel as though something, if I were to just kind of, just gut instincts, right? Gut instincts right here, right now, tonight. I kind of feel as though Brock Lesnar is going to hold on to that WWE Championship just long enough to make it to the Royal Rumble to defend it. I can see him defending it against Bobby Lashley. I see something going down where, and I'm just, pure speculation, just pure gut instincts, but just kind of looking at the trajectory of things. And sometimes y'all got to give me props, and you have. I've been pretty scary accurate with some of my projections over the years. Lashley gets the championship off of Lesnar. As a result of that, later on in the night, Lesnar is a shocking entry into the Royal Rumble. He wins the Royal Rumble. He punches in his ticket to take on Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, and that's pretty much how everything comes full circle. I still feel as though that is going to be the course that we're going to be taking. Had it been Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar tonight at day one, I don't think Brock Lesnar would have even been walking out as champion. I feel there definitely would have been a Heyman effect involved. Following up to what I had said on Wednesday's show, I feel that Heyman probably would have done a little bit of fuckery to try to prove his value, his worth, his loyalty to Roman Reigns and the bloodline, but that it would still backfire in his face, all said and done, and he would have a pissed off beast incarnate coming after him, trying to cash in the receipt of a whoop ass. So we'll see how it plays out, but I'm curious what you guys think. You agree with some of the stuff that I'm saying here, or you're seeing it and it's kind of going in a different direction? Sound off and definitely let me know. Most curious what you guys got to say. But other than that, I'm going to say let's go ahead, let's stick a fork in it. We'll call this show DONE done. Even though WWE did not make any mention of it tonight during their pay-per-view event. And by the way, I love the fact that I was able to rewind. I don't know if you guys were aware, but with tonight's day one pay-per-view event, you were able to pause, hit the rewind button. I actually was able to do that a couple of times and check out some of the stuff that I had missed whenever I had to leave the TV for a little bit, go do a little something throughout the house. So hopefully nice start of something on a regular basis. Now, if we can just get the screenshot stuff in there, that'd be pretty badass. That would be pretty badass. FYI, you all have a little bit of time. You may still be able to set your DVR to add the program. I don't know how much of it you'll be able to get, if you'll be able to get all of it in its entirety. But with the passing of Betty White, Saturday Night Live decided they were going to re-air tonight her appearance that she made on the show hosting from 2010. And to the point I was making earlier, I was a little bit shocked that there was no nod to the passing of Betty White during the pay-per-view. So hopefully, and most likely they will on WWE Raw, they will give that nod to Betty White. But wasn't that just 17 days away from turning the big 100? Just, it's great seeing all the love, nothing but love and respect and appreciation for such a comedic icon. Honestly, when you look at how she impacted so many decades with her comedy and just all the shows that she was involved in, man. And then on top of that, when you take a step back and you look at the fact that, you know, people my age grew up on her, right? And then our parents grew up on her. Our grandparents grew up on her. You might even be able to make an argument great grandparents as well. So, I mean, that's a good long life, and to be able to go out on natural causes, not COVID. Hey, that's good. And you were able to go out in your own home of natural causes instead of a fucked up fall. Yo, that's a good life well lived. That's a good life well lived, man. Seriously. But wasn't that a gut punch? Seriously, that was a gut punch when we all have found that out. In my case, I actually was on my way to work, and I think wifey hit me up with a text message right as I had looked at the news. And I'll leave you guys with this, because it really came out of nowhere. People Magazine, I don't know if you guys had heard about this, but People Magazine, they already had their January magazine ready to go, celebrating Betty White turning 100. She was on the front cover, featured story, and all of that. And it says Betty White turns 100. Now that's become a collector's item. It hasn't even hit the newsstands yet, but that's become a collector's item. There's actually a couple of people that already have their People magazine cover and all that. So FYI, if you were ever a Betty White fan, that may be something you maybe want to keep your eyes peeled for. Because I said to my wife, I said, there's no way they're going to put these out since she actually was not able to turn 100. Right? There's no way they're gonna, that's a serious retraction. So that's a collector's item. That is a collector's item. So it's very weird. It's very, very weird. I'll tell you this from this standpoint too, how it's really, really so weird, because for Christmas, some of the stuff that I had got for my wife, I got her the first 2 seasons of Golden Girls on DVD. I got her this funny looking, I'll show you guys how it looks. I showed her this funny Golden Girls art decor. And it's got Rose, Blanche, it's got all of them, and it's got these nice little catchphrases right underneath them and all that. It's a nice little piece of artwork. It's pretty badass. It's almost the size of a license plate. And I had got some of that for her for Christmas along with some other stuff. And it was so weird because like one of the first things we had talked about when we were reacting to her passing was like, man, you just got, he was like, I know. So I was like, whoa, what the fuck? But I would imagine they're definitely going to give her flowers on WWE programming this week, because she was so well beloved, very charismatic, very energetic. And even though she was up there in age, you want to talk about quick-witted and great timing, man. She really was. She really was. So I had to end the show on that note. You guys got to forgive me, but I mean, come on, man. It's fucking Betty White. Come on. That's an icon. Seriously. It's a fucking icon. All the shows, you don't know nothing about Betty White. I don't know what's wrong with you as far as your pop culture terminology and all that other stuff, but that's an icon, man. You got to spend a couple of minutes at least showing some flowers to an icon. Next program, we'll be live with you guys on Monday night, January 3rd. Monday night. Hang on a second. I don't know what the hell that was. Monday night, January 3rd, we'll be live with you guys after WWE Raw goes off the air. So tune in for that. That should be a fantastic show. Tuesday night, I'll figure out how we're going to do Tuesday night, because I know we got the NXT TakeOver event, but then there's also new NWA Power. So we'll figure all that out. So I get ready to make my exit. If you haven't done so already, please go out of your way. Make sure you hit that like button. When you do that, you really help spread the word about the content. Definitely this respected episode, so do that in advance, and thanks. Feel free to hit that subscribe button as well. Shout out to everybody that had tuned in live. Shout out to those of you that's going to be checking this out on demand, or will be listening to the audio for on demand and downloads. Get at me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Use the keywords the RCWR show. Until next go round, wishing all of you all to be safe. Most importantly, be kind to one another. Happy New Year, everybody, and I will catch you on Monday for your next show. Peace, y'all. Take care.